Okay, now that we've been learning so much about how to do subtraction with regrouping, ungrouping, we're breaking a 10. We've talked about the two strategies we can use, and you can pick whichever one fits better for your brain. Of course, we wouldn't be teachers and we wouldn't be learning math if we didn't then figure out how to take what we know and put it into a word problem, right? Every time we learn a new math process, we learn how to do it by itself, and then we put it into a word problem. Let's take a peek. Okay, Mr. Green has 64 tomatoes in a basket. He sells 28 tomatoes. How many tomatoes are left in the basket? Okay, let's talk for just a quick second, because it's been a while since we've done word problems, about some of our word problem attack strategies. When we're doing a word problem, the first thing you want to do, ask yourself is, what is happening? First thing we have to think is, what's happening in the story, to make sure that we pick the right math process to do. If we don't think about the words, sometimes I picture in my mind what's happening, or I might even get something read that I have at my house, like apples. I might not have that many tomatoes or apples. I might get Cheerios out and pretend they're tomatoes, and I might actually act out the problem. That is such a great thing to do when you're starting out with a word problem, because then you can really see what's happening, and then you won't make a mistake of picking what math you need to do. If the words trick you and you don't think it and figure out what they want you to do, and you pick the wrong math process, you could do the math process perfect. But if you added instead of subtracting and the problem wanted you to subtract, you're still going to get it wrong. And that's a bummer. So you have to be able to think about the words first. A lot like reading. When you're reading a story, you need to be thinking about what you're reading, painting a picture in your mind about what's happening in the story, putting all the details and main events together so that you understand what's happening. Same thing with the word problem. These are just little teeny tiny stories, right? They're only like 2 or 3 sentences long, right? And at the end, they always have a question. They have something they want you to figure out. That question is really important. It tells you, helps you figure out what math you need to do, okay? So we're going to start this approach by looking at our strategies. What is happening in the story? Act it out. Great way to help with word problems at home, especially with your mom and dad. If you're doing homework, act it out, okay? Act it out. What's happening? What process, what math process are they asking for? Is it add, subtract? Are we comparing two things? What are we even doing in the story, okay? So remembering to think through those things line by line, okay? So we're going to start by going line by line together with this word problem. So I like to even cover up the first sentence and look at it piece by piece. Mr. Green has 64 tomatoes in a basket. Okay, I'm going to stop and think. If he has 64 in a basket, I can see the basket in my mind. I see the tomatoes. Okay, got it. He's got a group of tomatoes. 64 isn't really that important right now. I just need to understand that he's got a group of tomatoes. Okay, let's read the next one. He sells 28 tomatoes. Okay, stop, think. He had a group. He sells 28. Selling. If I'm selling something, I don't have it anymore. So I must be taking some away. Look where my hand is. Where am I taking from? I'm taking out of the first group of tomatoes that were in that basket. Here's the basket. Taking, selling. So that first number that the story problem told me about must have been the whole, the big guy total. How many tomatoes he had all together. So he had a bunch. He took some, not all of them, sold them. Okay, so I don't have a hole in my basket anymore. This number has changed. If we're taking and selling and we know we're subtracting, the number that is in my basket just got smaller. Did you see all the thinking I did with that? Haven't even done anything on the board. Look, no math, no numbers, thinking. Now I'm ready to look at the question at the end of my story. I'm going to cover up the top part so we can just look at the end. How many tomatoes are left in the basket? This is helping us know what we're trying to find, okay? We had a group of tomatoes. Some were sold. The question is, how many are left? We already talked it out that after some were sold, the number in that basket got smaller, okay? We know if we're taking and selling, we're not adding, we're taking away. Now I know what math I need to do. Now the numbers matter. Now I can start taking the numbers out of the problem and putting them into an equation that matches the story that I just thought through really well. Okay? There were 64 tomatoes in the basket. I can't remember what the second number is. 28 were sold. So we're taking 28 out. And the question was, how many are left in the basket? Okay? You could set your equation up to look like this. Another way to draw a picture of it would be to do a math mountain. 64 tomatoes to start with. 28 were sold. This is how many are left. Another way to show the same exact word problem would be to say we had 64. We took 28 out. We sold them. This was our whole group of tomatoes. We sold this many. How many were left in the basket? Okay, now don't panic. Just because I have 3 different ways of writing this does not mean we're doing 3 different things. These are just different ways to show it. Your brain might like Math Mountains. I know a lot of kids whose brain really likes Math Mountains. Use that one. Some people can stack it up right away. Some people have to draw the Math Mountain first before they stack it up. That's cool. If that works for you, do that extra bit of work. That's good. Okay? Some people like this. They like to look at that and then they make a mountain out of it. However it works for you is fine with me. As long as you are processing what happened in the story, you're getting it on paper correctly, and you understand the process you need to do. Okay? Now we can use any one of these strategies, to do the math that we just did on the previous video, which is to look and decide if we're going to have to ungroup or regroup by looking at our tens and our ones. And look at this. Can you see what I see? When I look at my tens, I know that I can take 2 tens from 6 tens, no problem there. But can I take 8 from 4? Nope. I am going to have to ungroup, regroup, break a 10. So I'm going to have to do the math process we've been practicing to solve this problem. Okay? Remember, now you're ready to do it. You know how to do it. You just have to take the added step of reading and understanding the story, putting it down on paper correctly, and then do it. Okay? You can do this. It's not that bad, and we'll be ready to do it with 3 digits really soon.